Music and gatherings have been a part of human culture since the beginning of time. Early man would sit around a campfire and sing songs to each other. Much like everything else in society, this has naturally grown into what we know today as music festivals. Most likely known nowadays would probably either be your Coachella or your EDC, and they all got their origins from festivals like Woodstock, Lollapalooza, and what we're going to talk about today, which is going to be the band's Warped Tour. We're going to cover briefly the history of the tour, and kind of what makes it special compared to other music festivals. I chose this topic as a current event because this summer was the last summer of the band's Warped Tour after 24 years. Alright, moving into history. The Warped Tour was created in 1995 by Kevin Lyman, who's founder of a live event production firm called Fort Finney. It was named Warped Tour because he owned a magazine called Warp Magazine, which failed him like a year ago. I digress. It's an outdoor music festival. It has multiple stages. A few years they tried to use a single stage and decrease the amount of time the bands played, but they migrated back to the multiple stage format. And it has occurred indoors, but it's like super rare. 1996 was the first year the band's shoe company and now apparel company sponsored the festival, and they're the main sponsor of it, which coined the name Band's Warped Tour. In 1998 was their first international tour, and they hit Australia, Japan, Europe, and Canada, as well as the United States. And it ended this year, August 5th, 2018. Moving on to what makes it special. Although it was originally known as the Punk Rock Festival, and that's mainly because the bands that would religiously play it, like Pennywise, Bad Religion, NoFX, band TSOL there. It eventually evolved drastically throughout the years, having bands, up-and-coming new starter-up bands. Avenged Sevenfold played way before they are the huge mainstream success nowadays, and a lot of other bands. Eminem played it in 1999. They do have hip-hop bands play it. Atmospheres played it a lot. It became a safe haven for people who didn't necessarily fit in anywhere else, whether they be punk kids, hardcore kids, scene kids, hip-hop heads. It didn't really matter. The community was usually always welcoming to any type of people who would attend. And the reasoning for that is there's no hierarchy to the ticketing system. No bands were ever really given special treatment. If you're a huge major label band or a small indie band, it didn't really matter. There was never any fees to meet any of the artists, which was always super rad. You could just walk into the tents whenever they weren't playing. They'd usually be in tents signing merch, and you can talk to them. Something that kind of makes it different from your other big mainstream festivals would be like your Coachella tickets run anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 if you want a VIP access for the 3-day admission. And Warped has always ran, I know back in 2004 when I went, it was $30, but it's usually generally about $45 for the same 3-day show. So kind of a big comparison there. There's an interview with this girl, Victoria Hudgens. She's a 23-year-old Warped Tour fan, and something she said was, "I feel as though the younger crowd these days are more interested in putting their picture from Coachella on Instagram than they are actually going and enjoying the festival itself. You don't go to Warped Tour. You don't go to Warped Tour for an Instagram picture. You go to Warped to be part of something so big and so crazy." And I completely agree with this girl. Now you can go pay $1,000 to go party for 3 days in the desert. Like, that's super rad and fun. But don't claim that it's about music when it's not really. That's personal opinion, and I get it. Moving on to Vans here, their sponsor. The Warped Tour drastically increased the popularity of this apparel company. In time, the Warped Tour declined in popularity, but the popularity of Vans escalated and became a global phenomenon. I'm sure some of you own a pair of Vans or shirt or something. They were just recently bought by the VF Corporation. It's the clothing company who owns North Face. And even with the increased popularity of bands, they always kept their ticket prices down. Like I said, they didn't vary very much at all for 20 years or so. And bands have made public statement that they don't plan on raising their prices like that Supreme brand, who went from $20 shirts to $300 shirts. They just base everything on normal market inflation. Wrapping up here, in summation, Kevin Lyman's reasoning for ending the Warped Tour was him saying, I've done everything I can in this format and I'm just tired. It's time for someone else to continue or start something new. He also has multiple interviews where you can see he's just visually upset with the trend of the current music industry, and more so, he's more upset on how bands are treating each other. He says there's a huge lack in community, and that's something that really discourages him. And I think that's played a major role in deciding to end the tour. The tour may be ending for now, but they are planning a 25th anniversary single show. It's not going to be a tour, it's one single show, and that's going to be next year, so that will technically finally be it. And while it's sad to see such an iconic music festival end, I agree and feel it's the right reason to end it, rather than doing it half-heartedly and turn it into something that nobody really appreciates anymore. Thank you.